Welcome back. Glad you've chosen to come back and watch this again. Fitz and Heather, we are currently covering in the second episode of the 4 types of communication that great leaders have in common. Last, if you didn't watch part 1, it's that we covered part 1, which was 1 and 2, point 1 and 2, type 1 and 2, is motivation and encouragement. Those are 2 types of communication that all great leaders seem to have in common. And today we're covering 3 and 4, and then we'll land this plane. So let's jump right into it. So revisit that. This is a lesson I feel like I learned over 20 years ago, or at least I was taught over 20 years ago by my friend Barry Clarkson, who's now Integrity Partner Barry Clarkson. And I feel like he taught it to me over 20 years ago, and I've spent 20 years trying to learn it. And now we're just passing it on to you. Number 3 is disseminator of good news. And when I hear disseminator of good news, I immediately go back to Barry Clarkson. And I remember him saying, every great leader is basically a good news radio station. That's all you're putting out there. That's all you're broadcasting is good news. There's so much bad news out there, and it's so easy in our industry. It's so easy for a salesperson to focus on what's not working well. You know, how many dials they made and didn't book an appointment, or how many appointments they booked and nobody showed, or how many appointments they sat on and nobody wrote anything, or how many applications they wrote and they got declined, or, you know, on and on and on. And then they go to a sales meeting and, oh, that person did great again, you know. But it's always having at the tip of your tongue good news that you can pass on to that person, because you never know. I mean, point 2 is encouragement. You never know, that person may need encouragement, and being able to pass on that good news can cut through the static, the noise, the white noise that they have going on of all the bad news happening. And I feel like in the world that we're in today, we have all these news channels out there that they make a living by broadcasting bad news. That's what they do. It's sensationalism. And I feel like when a leader comes along and they pass on good news, it's refreshing. Like I can breathe now. It's like that nice glass of cold water on a really hot, humid day that you just go, oh, that's so refreshing. I can literally feel the cells in my body refreshing from that water. I know when I hear good news, I feel like that. I feel like, wow, okay, it's not just bad stuff going on right now. We just came back. We went away for a weekend with Easter, right, with the kids. And I was telling you this earlier, and I've said it to a few people this week, but went down to Port Aransas. We'd never been down there, and Port Aransas, for those who aren't from Texas. Port A, they call it here. We went down to Port We and on the beach, we were blown away. I've never seen anything like it, where all these people were camping. It was like RVs and camps and tents and all kinds of stuff. And, you know, it was every nationality was on that beach. It wasn't just one type of person. It was everybody there, and they were hanging out and laughing and joking and building, 10-foot wide fire pits on the beach that were 4 feet deep, and building these fires. And you got the vibe from it of, man, all these people really like each other. And I know in that moment I felt refreshed, because we hear so much today from the news about how our world hates each other. And I saw right there on that beach, these people all love each other. They're having a good time. They're laughing, and they don't all look alike. They're not all the same age. There was old, there was young, there was black, there was white, there was purple hair. It was just whatever was welcome. And I thought, see, that's what good news does to me. I saw that good news, and I felt better about the world I live in. And I think as a leader, when you're passing on that good news, you do the same thing for the people following you. I don't know. Did I ramble?
I think that you cannot pass on good news if you can't find the good news.
That's good news.
So I also think that some people have an ability to only see the bad, and some people have the ability to only see the good. And great leaders are going to figure out how to see the good in everything, and how to communicate that and disseminate that. I feel like it's hard, because we have to understand that even the bad things that happen in our life carry good qualities. They carry good purpose. And then we have to learn how to talk about that. So, for example, I think of like a leader who walks into a scenario where you're hearing the dissemination of bad news. Well, a leader knows how to tactfully take that, what's being disseminated, and turn it to the good. I think a leader knows how to talk through someone who's going through a really tough, dark season, how to validate what someone's walking through, but then encourage them to keep going. Encourage them that there's a brighter day coming tomorrow. Encourage them that good will come out of the strength that they're having to accrue and learn through the struggle and the battle that they're walking through. I think that the good, that someone who can disseminate the good can find the good. They can say, hey, it might be stormy outside, but the rain will help it help it be green tomorrow. These are the kinds of things where it's like we're always in our business, we're always encouraging people who are making dials and have activity but aren't making sales. Right? A leader goes, hey, okay, I know this sucks, and I know it hurts, and I know you feel like you've invested money in leads and you're not getting money out, but let me tell you about Marty Doge, who went 6 months, but now look at the money he's making. Let me tell you about somebody else who's done the same thing that you've done. Let me explain to you all the lessons that you've learned over the last 2 weeks that are preparing you to make the sales that you're going to make in the future. That's disseminating good news. It's learning to coach people through the things that they're going through and passing that along. I also just think it is really important, to your point, that we actually pass along the good news. Sometimes you just need an excuse to call somebody, and you're thinking, well, I don't have any reason to call them. You can call them to tell them the good news about the brand new integrity marketing website that's providing leads. Like, just call everybody. That's a reason to call people. You can call people and say, you know what, it is gorgeous today. I live in Seattle, and it's beautiful today, and I just wanted you to know the sun was shining. What good is happening in your day today?
Yep.
Sometimes good news is a great reason to reach out to somebody. We've got to be disseminators of good news. We got to find the good news.
Yeah, it picks people up and builds them up and encourages them. And when you have that going on in your life, you can't help but go out and do.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody sits at home going, man, everything's great. Nobody does that. They go do, and that's what we need more of. All right, number 4. Know-how. Fourth type of communication is know-how. And one of the first notes I have is consistency in emotions. And when I say consistency in emotions, what I think is emotional stability is bred by a commitment to continuity. So if you want emotional stability in your life, you have to be committed to doing consistently on a regular basis. Does that make sense? And I think when you're doing that, you're passing that on to your people. And I think that people looking to a leader who is not to make a schizophrenic leader, a bipolar leader, like one day they're great, the next day they're awful. Nobody likes to follow somebody like that. People want to follow somebody that has a commitment to a consistency in emotions. And when you are a leader and you're passing that on, you're inspiring them to pass it on. And now you have a bunch of emotionally stable people walking together. And that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think as a leader, we've got to be really careful that we do the things that we say we're going to do. And we're all guilty of that. I mean, I can think of even somebody in the last few months that I was like, I'll call you next week, and then I didn't call. That happens, and there's grace in all of it. But the better we can become at being consistent with the things that we tell people we will do and then doing them, the better of a leader we will become.
Yeah. I think you got to pass on a growth mentality.
Yeah. The
know-how for the growth mentality. And I can remember writing these notes down. I'm going to say them, and then we can just talk about them as we want. But massive change in attitude. You gotta. That's what a growth mentality requires, is a massive change in attitude, a mighty burst of energy. These are notes directly from Barry. I can still hear him saying it. And this last one, tremendous vertical move. So you've got to pass on, as a leader, you need to pass on a growth mentality to your people, the know-how of how to achieve that growth mentality. And one of the things that strikes me when I read those notes is the tremendous vertical move. Now, what is a tremendous vertical move? Well, it's not, I wrote an app, I got two. That's not a tremendous vertical move. Tremendous vertical move is maybe you put in 3 months of doing an app a week, but then all of a sudden, this week you had 10. And just bang, just a tremendous vertical move. We're talking about a vertical move up the ladder. right? And when you have that vertical move, or maybe you've been recruiting and training and recruiting and training and recruiting and training, and it just seems like your agency's not building. And then all of a sudden, I don't know how many times we said this, man, if everybody we had just produced in 1 week, what could we do? But then all of a sudden it happens, and you're like, bang, we had 20 producers this week. We had 100 producers this week, up from 0. Like all of a sudden that tremendous vertical move. And when you make that tremendous vertical move, what happens is it creates a suction. It creates this vacuum that pulls everybody else under you up. And it's like, look, I didn't just make that tremendous vertical move. There's 15 other people that made it too, because we made it together. Boom. That growth mentality. Got to pass that on.
Right. I think that it's the know-how is obviously being diligent and knowing your products, knowing the process, and then it's also knowing how to connect people to the things that you may not know. Mm. So again, this is about like disseminating information as well, and know-how of how to help people get the information that they need. I can't help but see, when I look at these 4 styles of communication, I see how they match up very well typically with the DISC. So I feel like the number 1 was motivation, and a lot of times that would match up. If someone's a high D dominant, they might be better at the motivation. A high I might be better at encouragement. A high S might be better at disseminating and finding good information. And a high C is going to be typically better at the know-how. But our challenge to you today is to say, okay, how can I become a master? How can I grow in all of these styles of communication? And how can you apply them as a leader to help your people grow this week?
That's really good. I think we landed there. You just nailed it. That's a mic drop. Hey guys, hope this has helped. The 4 types of communication that every great leader seems to have in common. We hope it helped. And if not, let us know. If it did, let us know. Love feedback. We haven't given that out recently, but feel free to contact us. My email address is fitz@fitzgroup.org. Feel free to shoot me an email and just say, hey, I got this. If you're part of our organization, shoot me a Slack. Send me a message there. Any way you can get in touch with us, please do. We love to hear feedback and love to hear what you maybe want to hear from us on this podcast. But I think we're done for today. So, hey, now that you know, you know.